Honestly, what's this giving people $25,000 lumps of cash to help their home renovations? Don't people who are in a house have access to the cheapest money of all time?
Well, Chris, good evening, and I'm absolutely delighted with the announcement by the Prime Minister today. This is a very important part of our economic boost. Of course, as you know, we've got a whole range of programs to make sure that our economy not only stays afloat but also thrives. And Chris, all I can say is you sound a bit cynical there.
I'm very cynical about this.
But you have not met Liv, who's a nurse in Geelong, or Quentin, who's about to build a house in Kilmore. He's a scaffolder, and they are jumping for joy. And this, in all seriousness, is going to drive enormous investment into an industry which at the moment is really struggling, and to keep that pipeline of construction work going, which will support more than 1 million workers.
Look, I understand the issue here. We've got to look after the building sector. I was speaking to a tradie mate of mine the other day, actually. He said he's got plenty of work at the moment, but there's no new orders coming in. So he's very worried about where he's going to be in 4 or 5 months' time, and that's what this is aimed at. But you won't get much of this happening in 4 or 5 months. It takes forever. I reckon you could do more by somehow forcing local governments to process planning applications inside a month or 2 months, just to help people spend their own money rather than throwing more taxpayers' borrowed money at them.
Well, funnily enough, Chris, I spoke to the CEO of the City of Greater Geelong today, and I said this is going to make sure that you get moving with your planning approvals. But of course, a building has got to start within a 3-month period after a building contract is signed, and it does mean that everyone is going to have to move very quickly. But we have to move quickly because, as you say, the pipeline of construction work is drying up, so that this is an incredibly important program, not just for home builders and renovators, not just for the construction industry, but for the entire supply line, the whole chain in the building and construction industry. And it is about addressing a short-term drying up in that supply chain, and that's what we're doing. We're absolutely determined, Chris, whatever it takes. Our government is working incredibly hard to drive jobs, and that's exactly what we're doing with this program.
Well, I tell you what, I'm very pessimistic because I've been trying to do a renovation myself. I've heard about this for years and talked about it, but I've been trying to do it myself. It is murder trying to get councils to let you spend your own money. So why don't you get the head of the Local Government Association or someone to the next National Cabinet meeting, because unless you get help, some fast tracking from local governments, you just won't get people getting renovations underway inside 5-6 months.
Well, absolutely, and local councils are on notice. They've got to get a move on. And I have seen in my own region that when local councils are under pressure, that they will move. So it's absolutely, the onus is on local government also to get a move on. We have seen some terrible delays. With respect, Chris, you probably wouldn't qualify for this program because it is means tested, but this is going to make an enormous difference to thousands of Australians, to tradies right across the country. But you're right, every level of government has got to work together, including local government, to make sure that that pipeline does not dry up.
I reckon that's the bigger problem. That is a real big problem. Local government slowing this down every day of every week, not just now that we're facing a recession. Just briefly on China and Tiananmen Square, do you know if Daniel Andrews has said anything about the anniversary of Tiananmen Square today? Would he speak out about something like that?
Well, I don't and never have spoken for Daniel Andrews, Chris, but certainly we are seeing a lot of silence from federal Victorian Labor MPs on the left. The likes of Libby Coker, Catherine King, Lisa Chestis, or hard left Victorian Labor MPs who have not had the backbone to stand up against the Belt and Road Agreement, who have not stood up in Australia's interests. We know that this is a terrible deal for Victorian workers, and we're seeing enormous silence ricocheting throughout federal Labor here in Victoria, which is a shocking indictment on the ability of those members to stand up for Victorians.
Yeah, there's a big difference there between the state Labor position and the federal Labor position. I'll pursue that with some Labor MPs further on. Thanks for joining us, Sarah. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great to talk to you, Chris.